Hi guys, so I wanted to talk a little bit about anger. I put up an Instagram picture and on my social media sites that discuss the fact that anger really is only temporary fuel. It's temporary fuel to use when you need to take action. Anger is good when you're in a very specific situation and you need just a little bit of energy to move forward, get out of a situation, motivate yourself temporarily. But people who become addicted to anger and use anger as their constant source of fuel, what they do is they eventually exhaust themselves. Um, they actually are going to vacillate between anger and depression, depending on how strong their endocrine system is and exactly what their diet is. Um, I don't mean to stereotype, but if you look at music, angry music, it's generally done by people who are young and with really healthy bodies. People who can thrive on anger use that as their constant energy, but unfortunately, it's very limiting. You do not have an endless supply of this type of adrenaline response because that's really what you're looking for. Being angry is a, a fuel that young people use. You don't see a lot of people in their 50s and 60s and 70s going to protests, being offended, constantly being angry and irritated. Now, what happens is as you age, this anger bubbles, it kind of like dies down. So you're not really angry, you're more resentful, you're more indignant, and you vacillate between being depression and this sense of resentment. Resentment isn't anger in its direct form. It's more of a subtle type of anger. Resentment also is very, very draining, and you have to be careful because some kids learn resentment instead of anger. Anger can be a healthy emotion and used in the right spot. Wow, I'm getting a call. Let me see who this is. Okay. So that was just a phone call from a robot, which makes me angry because I fucking was in the middle of a really good YouTube video. Okay, so again, resentment is something that's a little more insidious than anger. Anger can be healthy. People who are angry tend to be able to express and to take action towards what they need. They use that as temporary fuel. Now look at Eminem. Eminem used anger to make a lot of art, okay? Now, he eventually used a bunch of drugs and slid, not because the anger really drained him and he fell into depression. And when you start falling away from your anger, you will use drugs to kind of keep you up. And then that's a whole other addiction issue. But basically, Eminem doesn't have that type of anger anymore. He's not constantly producing and touring with angry music. I think, obviously, I don't know if he's still operating in this way, but if I were to have a discussion with him, he would probably tell me that he had to use drugs to keep him out of depression, because that's what happens when you run out of that anger energy. You fall back into a hopelessness, and you really need time to regenerate the body. Old people fall into resentment, and actually a lot of young people fall into resentment. Resentment is insidious because it's anger without the action. So it's like you're resentful and you feel like you can't do it, and you're expressing the same type of energy, but it's really without that type of stimulus you're looking for. Anger, the resentment is just this lower type of anger, but without the benefits. That's how I see it. So be careful of that, because resentment is really truly what leads to disease a lot quicker than anger. Anger will lead to disease and depression, but resentment will get you there real quick because it's so the underlying emotion. It's almost like secondary. But again, try to use higher levels of kindness inspiration, purpose, positive thinking, and other forms of mental talk to replace anger. It's okay to get angry sometimes because that means that your boundaries are being violated, and sometimes anger comes from a poor diet and blood sugar issues. You have to look into that too, because people who are, who eat a lot of flour and sugar are going to have anger issues. But just notice, oh God, I totally lost my thought. Anyway, the anger has got to go, guys. Use it as temporary fuel, okay? Replace it with the self-loving, kindness, inspirational energy, okay? With a sense of compassion for yourself, because that is unlimited. Anger is very limited. So I hope you learned something from this video. Sorry for the interruption. Please follow me on social media, subscribe, and like my video. Please, I love you guys.